Hey guys, Poro here, back with more esports content. I'll be doing power rankings for each of the 4 major regions, barring any time issues, and LPL is up first as they're starting on Monday. I'll go over each of the teams, their roster changes, and how well I think they'll do in this upcoming split. Also, before we start, please keep in mind that the rosters that I show are not 100% confirmed, as a lot of them were compiled based off of rumors, so any given roster could be different on the start date. In 17th is Ultra Prime, who finished 17th last split with a 3-13 record. Their wins looked pretty uninspiring as well, with it feeling more like the losing team underperforming than the Ultra Prime doing well. Heading into summer, they made one change, swapping out Baolan for Sword Art. While I'm not a Baolan fan, I see this as a side grade at best, and possibly a downgrade. This does mean we get a PCS bot duo though. As usual, the player to watch out for on this roster should the team step it up is Doggo. He's an ADC with a lot of firepower who can be a difference maker. In 16th is Rare Atom. They finished 12th in spring and have a handful of changes to their roster, including replacing Cube for Xiaoshu, signing Mole to potentially start over Strive, and signing Baolan over Southwind. While I think Baolan is a slight upgrade, I think Mole and Xiaoshu are pretty sizable mistakes for this team. I had very little faith in them in spring, and this new roster makes me even less of a fan. Leian is still a strong jungler though, if any member were to end up stepping up. In 15th is Anyone's Legend. They finished 16th in spring and have signed a new bot lane for summer. Zora is a new face replacing Sword Art who's been performing fairly well in the LDL, but the really big pickup for this team is iBoy over Betty. While iBoy didn't garner good results in his past few splits on Rare Atom, he's still a legend, and he also had a fantastic split in summer 2021 with a stacked Rare Atom roster that made it all the way to 3rd place. Everyone from that 2021 roster is a super talented player in my eyes, iBoy being no exception even if he was the least impressive from that lineup. In 14th is FPX, who finished 15th in spring, a surprise to many people. They technically have changes, as Hacker is fully replacing Haoye and QQ is starting due to Lele leaving, but all of these players were signed to FPX last split, so it doesn't really make that much of a difference. Zhao Laohu was supposed to be an uprising top star in the making, but that hasn't come to fruition yet. LWX is also a familiar face, but he's been trending downwards as of late, and I don't expect this roster to perform much better this split. In 13th is Ninjas in Pajamas, who finished 13th last split. They made a couple changes, including giving Shadow the starting spot over XLB and signing Angel over Dream. I see both of these moves as upgrades, and this roster still has the remnants of the dominant V5 roster from 2022, but this team isn't the one I'm looking at to step it up from the bottom half teams. That honor goes partly to my 12th place team, LGD, who finished 14th last split. The important thing to note is that this team started off horribly early, but finished the split out strong with game wins against EDG and WE, and series wins against top esports and BLG, all of these happening in patches 13.4 and 13.5. To me, it felt like this team was picking up steam and definitely figured something out. They did make 2 changes heading into summer, swapping out Xiaoshu for their prior top laner Fearness, and swapping LPC for Envy, the ADC from Live Sandbox, who is honestly pretty impressive in my opinion. I see this top as a side grade and ADC as an upgrade, so I've got a good feeling about this team. In 11th, I've got RNG. They finished tied 7th, 8th in playoffs last split, but in pretty uninspiring fashion. They picked up a new bot lane for this split, swapping Gala for LP and Ming for Lele. While I think LP and Lele are both good players, these are clear downgrades for me. They also decided to keep Tang Yuan over Angel, a very interesting decision that I also don't agree with. They still have powerhouses like Breathe and Wei, but I'm not seeing how this roster can perform better than last split's roster. In 10th, I've got IG, who finished 11th last split, narrowly missing playoffs. This does have an asterisk on it though, as YSKM was sick for the back half of the split, leading to IG trending downwards. I believe if YSKM stayed healthy, IG would have made playoffs easily. Coming into summer, IG has cut every Korean member off their roster, including their coach, Gideon, and Dove. I'm extremely upset at this personally, but it's not all that bad. Gideon's replacement is Tianzhen, a young player with a lot of spark on his play. Cryan is also a veteran who is on RNG's MSI winning team, although I view this as a downgrade to Dove. On might also have a spot in danger after IG signed Zhao Yuji, another young rookie from the IG Young roster. I think this roster has a lot going for it, and if a few of the young faces make it work, this team will be a powerhouse. In 9th, I've got Thundertalk, who finished tied 9th, 10th in playoffs. Coming into summer, they have one potential change, with 1xN possibly starting over Huanfeng. I previously saw Huanfeng as the weak point of this roster, and 1xN has been looking pretty insane in LDL, so I'm down for him to get the starting spot. The rest of this roster remains unchanged and is very good across the board, especially Yukal, who just played his best split the past few years. I really like this roster and expect another playoffs appearance. In 8th, I've got WE, who also finished tied 9th, 10th last split. The reason why I pushed this team up a few notches is pretty simple, as Cube is the replacement for Bubu this split. I thought Bubu was the weak spot for WE before, and I think Cube is a great top laner. When I look at this roster now, I fail to see the weak spot at all. 5 solid players, especially Shanks, who I thought was a top 3 mid laner in spring regular season. In 7th, I've got Top Esports, who were tied 7th, 8th in playoffs. They decided to stick with the exact same roster, although I think Wayward will be starting over Qingtian at the start. While this roster has underperformed in past split and Worlds, I think they'll be strong. They never slip from that top half standing, and you can never count a team with rookie on it out. In 6th, I've got my boys OMG who finished 4th in playoffs. I love these guys for those who don't already know, and I want nothing more for them to win it all and make worlds. I was a bit worried with some rumors about PP God leaving, but it seems like they kept their starting lineup intact. So why do I have them down 2 spots from spring then? Well, for one, their 4th place finish was nothing but upset after upset. They weren't supposed to beat JDG, BLG, and Top Esports to get their first round bye, they weren't supposed to beat Top Esports in playoffs, and they definitely weren't supposed to knock LNG out of the tournament. On top of that, LNG has upgraded their roster, and I have to swallow my copium and say that OMG making top 4 again is unrealistic. In 5th, I've got LNG who finished tied 5th, 6th in playoffs. They made only one change to their roster, replacing LP with Gala. While LP is a great player, it's no doubt that Gala is an upgrade here, so it'll be interesting to see how LNG can do if Gala blends in well with the rest of the team. Scout was undoubtedly the best mid laner in LPL in regular season spring, and LNG was tied first heading into playoffs. In 4th, I've got Weibo Gaming, who were also tied 5th, 6th in playoffs. This roster remains mostly untouched for summer, although a surprise Weiwei signing may mean Karsa splits time. I'm pretty happy about this, as even though I think Karsa is a strong jungler, it was an absolute crime that Weiwei was unsigned in spring. Even though this team finished 5th, 6th, it's undeniable that this roster has an insanely high ceiling. I predicted them to be top 3 in my spring power rankings, and my sentiment that this roster has what it takes to win it all still holds true. They'll have to battle through their inconsistency if they want that though, so they could really end up anywhere. In 3rd, I've actually got BLG despite their MSI finals appearance. They were 2nd in spring playoffs of course, but it's important to note that they were 5th in regular season and were very much not expected to defeat EDG in the lower bracket finals series. Heading into summer, I still believe the EDG roster is stable enough to overcome this BLG roster who can be over-aggressive at times. However, I still give the 3rd place nod to BLG due to how well they played against T1 and Gen.G. In 2nd, I have EDG, who were also tied first heading into playoffs and then finished 3rd. EDG have made no changes to their roster. There are a few aspects of this roster that make me believe they'll improve though. For one, Ollie had a rough split compared to his usual performance, so I expect him to bounce back. I also think Fofo is a great player who finally got to show what he can do on a roster who plays with him. Leaf is of course the hot topic, with Spring being just his rookie split. With another split of experience, Leaf can definitely become a monster. Altogether, I think this roster is insane across the board. In 1st, I have JDG, who won LPL 2023 Spring and then also won MSI 2023. They have arguably a top 3 player in the world across the board in every position on their roster, and they seem to have fixed a lot of their teamwork issues from regular season at MSI, meaning this roster could definitely stand alone atop the LPL if they keep their form. With the mental barrier of not doing well in internationals finally being off all 5 of these players, I'm excited to see what they can unleash. And that's going to do it for my preseason LPL 2023 summer power rankings. Next should be LCS, then LCK, and then LEC, so I'll see you all for those then. Bye!